I honestly think that Haruki Murakami fans need to defend themselves. I find Haruki Murakami really interesting, and after spending 600 pages of reading not this book, but the Wind Up Bird Chronicles a couple years ago, really just ultimately feeling very cheated out by the whole experience, and basically felt like once I got to the end, I'm like, wow, well, that was kind of a waste of time. That's kind of like the basics of what I thought. I still decided to pick up another tome of his, another 600 pages, and you're probably wondering, why? Why would I even do that if I already decided I kind of didn't like him? He's so popular. He's so popular. Something I find super interesting about Haruki Murakami is how wide his readership is, like honestly and truly. And kind of kudos to him, because I kind of can't name another author where I think he's kind of reached as wide. I like watching booktube. I have a couple like fave booktubers, and I just like being in the sphere of hearing other people talk about books on YouTube. And somebody that I've seen on everybody's accounts, everybody's TBRs, everybody's wrap-ups, you know, videos, reviews, and all of that has been Haruki Murakami. And not just one type of person. There's like, we got the literal, like the dude bros who like refuse to read anybody else except like Thomas Pynchon and Ernest Hemingway. Guess what? They read Haruki Murakami. The sci-fi kids and the fantasy kids, guess what? Guess what? They read Haruki Murakami. The YA girls and boys, guess what? They read Haruki Murakami. The classic kids, all the kids on YouTube who read like almost exclusively classic literature, guess who's on their shelves? Yeah, you heard it here first. Haruki Murakami. And I'm like, dang, what am I, you know, I must have missed something. I missed something when I read Wind Up Bird. I need to give this guy another chance. His ridership is way too wide and way too far for me to give up on this man. So I decided, out of the kindness of my heart, to read Kafka on the Shore. And I regretted it. I really, truly did. Y'all let him get away with way too much. If you don't know the premise of what Kafka on the Shore is about, we're kind of following two characters. One of the characters is a 15-year-old runaway who is kind of searching for something in his life. And the other character is like a 50-something older gentleman who has a mental disability, and he had suffered some type of accident when he was younger that kind of left him with a mental disability, and he can now talk to cats, and that's kind of his story. Okay? It sounds whimsical. It sounds fun. It sounds like charming. It's giving like a lot of things that I feel like I would love. And that's one of the reasons I initially picked up Murakami, is because like I'm just in shock that I don't even really like him. I meant not after reading his books, but just like on paper. That's funny because this is on paper, but like in theory, this Haruki Murakami is what I want in life, okay? Like this type of surrealist, absurdist like vibe, the kind of philosophical elements of his work. I love that type of stuff. I love unconventional stories. I like surrealism. I like things that have ambiguous endings. I like ambiguity. I like lots of pieces to the story. I'm not somebody who needs to leave reading a book feeling like everything has been laid out for me and I get like, so that's not the reason why I don't like Murakami. Because I know one reason why people don't like Murakami is that they like don't like open endings and stuff like that. Not me. It's not me. I will quickly praise him what I think he deserves to be praised for. And I will say there is a type of like easy beauty in his writing. He is quotable in certain sections. Like I marked some pieces before I was kind of done with it and just wanted to kind of get it over with. But there's definitely passages in here that I think were kind of like dashingly beautiful, but in a very easy way. Like, I feel like there's different types of beautiful writing. There's authors who can make writing beautiful in a very like intricate way, in a complicated way, with these kind of like I'm saying, like complicated sentences that kind of weave in and out of each other. And then there's people like Murakami who make writing beautiful in this like simplistic way that is so, what's the word, like flowy. Like, it's so easy reading his work. Like, his books are big, yet you can read them quickly because you feel like you're just kind of gliding through his words, which is really cool too, especially since it's translated fiction and not originally written in English. So kudos to him for that. And I will say, for the first 200 pages of this, for the most part, because there were definitely some moments in those first 200 pages where I was just like already getting annoyed, I pretty much enjoyed this. I think there was a lot of stuff that I like latched onto. You can tell Haruki Murakami is, you know, somewhat of like a bibliophile, and the kind of descriptions, like the main character or the 15-year-old is very into libraries and reading and that type of stuff. And so when he talks about the love of books or describes a library or reading or anything in that kind of literary realm, it is so relatable and so enjoyable, truly. And the first 200 pages, when they're caught up in the whimsy of everything, of certain characters just talking to cats and, you know, running away from home and finding a library and meeting these characters, it is enjoyable because like you're along for the ride, and it does feel like you're getting somewhere, that you're going somewhere. But I think it becomes very apparent after those first couple hundred pages that we're not really going anywhere distinct. And I think Haruki Murakami has even said in interviews that a lot of the times he doesn't plan what he's going to write, which is not necessarily a problem. I mean, every author is going to write how they write, and he kind of just goes for it. I feel like it's very obvious that he's just going for it, and I feel like he feels like he can get away with it, and a lot of other like readers also let him get away with it because he is like a magical realism king. He's in the surrealist absurdist genre, so he can kind of just do whatever he wants with no rhyme or reason and with like basically no apparent thought behind it, and just kind of keep getting away with it. So when we're stacking all these fun quirky events on top of another fun quirky event on top of another fun quirky event on top of another fun quirky event on top of another fun quirky event, and then mixing in gore, like random gore, and just making the text sexual where absolutely nothing sexual needed to be added, it just makes for a reading experience that was just not enjoyable. And I don't really understand why he would just add random sections. If you read this book, chapter 16, I literally skipped like the second half of chapter 16. After like reading chapter 16, like to the middle, and then seeing that he was still going, which was basically, trigger warning, animal cruelty. Let's just say animal cruelty. I have never been one to be able to stomach anything like that. Something about it seems so gratuitous. I don't really shy away from reading books that are thematically heavy. I've talked about it many a time on this channel. A lot of my favorite books are difficult, not just difficult, but very difficult to read at certain points or sections because of their subject matter or what's going on in the book. And that has never bothered me the way that reading the way Haruki Murakami decides to approach these subjects in the same way, because something about it just seems so extra and so almost like shock value rather than caring about the atmosphere of the scene, or like what the scene's supposed to mean, or just having to describe something that's just has to be or is going to be part of the plot. It just seems like he just keeps going and he keeps going and he keeps going, and I'm just like, why? For what? Why this book had so many sections that were just unnecessarily sexual. Like, we have to start skimming. We have to start skimming. We have to start skipping, because I am not going, like, what was the point of having to be constantly subjected to random, inappropriate sections for absolutely, guys, catch this, absolutely no reason. I don't get the hype for this. When I was finally done with this book, I felt confused. I felt I wasted time, the same way that I felt with after reading Wind Up Bird. I felt offended. I don't understand why this guy has such loyal fan base. So many people really do talk, like, I literally, like, you can read reviews, people talking about how, like, this book saved their life. I don't want to be, like, rude or anything. Trust me, some of my favorite books are notoriously hated, but I am just so done. I am so done with Haruki Murakami. Oh my god, here I am about to backtrack. I'm about to say I'm never gonna read him again, but I have Norwegian Wood on my shelves, okay? I already bought Norwegian Wood, and it seems to me that what I've seen, hardcore Murakami fans think Norwegian Wood is his weakest work. So since I really don't like Haruki Murakami, maybe Norwegian Wood will actually be good for me. Do we see, like, the correlation there? It's supposed to be kind of light on the magical realism and more of just like a tragic love story. Maybe I will pick that up sometime in the future, but definitely not anytime soon, because I got other things to do, y'all. I have other books to read. I have other fictional worlds to visit, and I can't let this man just keep getting away with this. What are y'all reading in here? The women were interesting. I don't know a super heck of a lot about Haruki Murakami himself. I know there is another Japanese author whose name is Kobo Abe. I've talked about a couple of his books on this channel, who is kind of famous for his, like, surrealist, existentialist kind of literature. I've read 2 books by him. One is called The Woman in the Dunes, which is about a man who gets trapped in a sand dune and is kind of forced to keep shoveling out sand in order to survive at a little house that's at the bottom of this dune. Interesting work. I gave it 3 stars, I think, when I read it, but there were some very noticeable problems in it. And then there was one that I picked up recently, and it's in I talked about it in a couple videos, but I ended up unhauling it, and that was the arc Sakura, about this man who kind of builds this kind of underground bunker because he's very convinced the world is going to be ending, and then kind of starts recruiting people he thinks kind of deserve to, like, survive the end or something like that. And I ended up unhauling that one because of the very kind of deep misogyny that kind of runs throughout his work that I've seen twice. And Haruki Murakami was apparently very influenced by Kobo Abe as a writer. I did not find anything, like, inherently sexist in Haruki Murakami's works. I didn't, when I read the wind up, maybe I just didn't pick up on it. If anyone else did, maybe. As I do just find the women kind of weak. They're very kind of one note. One of the characters in here, who's like a younger girl, was very, like, giving manic pixie dream girl kind of vibes, if you know what I'm saying. Don't really like Kobo Abe's work, and now I'm not really liking Murakami's work, which may very well be of the fact that they're kind of synonymous with each other in this context, where Haruki Murakami claims to have been very influenced by him. It sucks, because I want to find more like magical realism type of stuff that I think makes sense at the end of the day. I don't know. I don't know. But I can just so for sure say that it's not Haruki Murakami. I'm sick of this. I will be getting rid of this book. I will not be recommending this book to anybody. Feel like this was a massive waste of my time. I found it gratuitous. I found it unnecessary. I found the sexual degeneracy that was kind of running throughout it just disgusting. And wanting to film this for a couple days, so I hope my thoughts came out as fresh as they would have when I finished this book like a week ago. And if they didn't, I don't really care because I'm not interested in the sphere of this book anyway. As always, happy reading, losers.